Good morning, YouTube. Today, I want to talk about all the reasons why people claim they didn't buy a Ferrari.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan. This is my garage, and this channel is all about the supercar ownership experience. And one thing that's really fascinating about having this YouTube channel is I get a lot of comments from a lot of people, and one of the consistent themes that I get is anytime anything remotely goes close to wrong, if something's expensive or if something takes a while to acquire a part, people start dispensing their opinions about why they didn't buy a Ferrari and they're so smart because they didn't buy a Ferrari, or these are the reasons why I didn't buy a Ferrari. And a really common one is, that's why I bought a Porsche, not a Ferrari. And I love to laugh at these because it's like, okay, number one, let's be real. There is a lot of anecdotal stuff going on, not so much based on fact. Yes, older Ferraris did take a lot of maintenance. Older cars in general break. So as things age, they tend to wear. If you've owned any cars that are more than 10, 15 years old, stuff just starts to go wrong. Things start to break. Let's think about this. They're heat cycling to very high temperatures, probably have some neglected maintenance, exposed to sun and elements and whatever. So yeah, stuff's gonna break. So all this comes because, well, this car recently broke and then it broke again. To be fair, the second time it broke is kind of my fault. A clamp broke, and that was because we added an aftermarket exhaust. Obviously, disrupting the exhaust clamp caused it to break. It didn't just like break on its own, but I'm sure it was getting brittle because of age, so whatever. And of course, the other thing that broke recently was the mass airflow sensors, which this car is 11 years old and has over 40,000 miles on it. That's actually pretty decent for a mass airflow sensor. Sometimes they break early. When we bought Megan's Mini Cooper, one of her other ones, not the one we currently have, it lost a ignition coil at like 30,000 miles. It was just after the warranty had expired. And so for someone to sit here and be like, oh, like this thing's such a piece of crap, it lost a mass airflow sensor. Other cars break too. Like, this happens. What are you doing, Mr. Mo? Oh, you're tired. I mean, you wanted to come into the garage. I'm just saying, now you want out of the garage. I can let you inside. Is that what you want? He's like, I did a full scan of the garage and there was nothing of interest, so now I want to go back in the house. Okay, let's go in the house. So the most common thing that people always say is, I bought a Porsche instead of a Ferrari. And I kind of think that that's kind of a crap out. You bought a Porsche because you wanted a Porsche. If you wanted a Ferrari and you could afford a Ferrari, you would have bought a Ferrari. No one really sits there and says, I've got enough money to buy a Ferrari, I really want a Ferrari, but I'm not gonna buy it because the internet said that they break. What? No, so first of all, again, modern Ferraris are really reliable. I mean, seriously reliable. They don't have the traditional Ferrari problems. Like, this is an old myth. That horse has been beaten so hard that it popped all the way through the planet and came back out on the other side. And people in China are going, what the hell is this horse doing here?
What's wrong with Ferrari reliability?
If you read the internet and that's where you're getting your basis of information, is a bunch of anecdotal stuff, probably from people that don't even own Ferraris, that's a load of crap. People always have the one person, like they know the one guy who had the major catastrophic problem. Someone commented the other day, they're like, oh, I'm not gonna buy a 458 because my buddy owned one and the transmission blew up. Yeah, what was your buddy doing? Was he doing donuts? That's not very common. People always love to bring up the transmission problem with the 458. It's really not that common. It does happen. It's not like they all have it happen. It is actually pretty small numbers of cars that had it happen. But in the same breath that people always are bringing up how reliable Porsches are, they're always neglecting to mention there's a lot of Porsches that actually have a lot of problems. I mean, you take some of the older Porsches, the whole IMS bearing issue, things like that happen. So all cars are subject to failure. It's just a nature of things being mechanical. Yeah, some cars are more reliable than others, and I'm going to argue that the modern Ferraris are very reliable. So people sitting here just talking about how they're so unreliable and they cost so much money and yada yada yada, probably don't own one and probably never will. So don't listen to them. Listen to the people who actually own them, and they will tell you straight up, the vast majority of these people who own these cars will tell you it is worth every penny. It is awesome. It is an experience to own these cars. It is unique and awesome, and I highly recommend it. So the other thing that is probably obvious, but I don't like to bring up because it's a douchey topic, but let's be real here for a second, and a no judgment thing. This is just, it is what it is, okay? But the vast majority of people who say, I didn't buy a Ferrari because of whatever reasons, it's actually because they couldn't afford it. They're not cheap. This is not cheap. This costs as much as a house in many places of the world. It's 100% optional expense. So it's not like you need this to survive. It's not like you need food and water. You don't need a Ferrari. No one needs a Ferrari. It is a want. So people want the car. If you don't have an excess amount of money just chilling, or if you don't have super awesome credit and a means to pay off a loan on one of these, you probably aren't going to buy one. Don't make it sound like I didn't buy it because I'm worried about it breaking. No, you didn't buy it because you can't afford it. And that, again, there's nothing wrong with that. I couldn't afford this for the vast majority of my life, and arguably the only reason I can afford this now is because this is part of my job. In any other scenario, I probably wouldn't have gotten one of these because it's not practical. It's not a practical thing to spend that much money on a car. But we're gearheads. We are all gearheads. If you're watching this, you're probably a gearhead. So you understand that we're doing irrational things with our money. Most of us have cars that are completely irrational. They are not practical. They are not point A to point B cars. They are expensive because we wanted something fun and unique, and we wanted the experience of enjoying our cars. And that's why you buy these things. So we've kind of already covered money, and we've kind of covered the BS excuse of maintenance for modern Ferraris anyway. And so the other thing that I kind of think people say they don't buy them is because they're afraid of them. They think there's some weird fear. People don't want to buy a Ferrari because they don't want the attention. Actually, that is, in my opinion, having experienced owning this car, that is a legitimate problem. So if you buy a Ferrari, you will get attention, good or bad. And it's not always good, unfortunately. But in my experience so far, it's been mostly positive. But then again, I think Austin just generally has a more relaxed vibe. But I think also part of it is how you present yourself as an owner. Like if you're running around acting too high and mighty to talk to people and things, it's not exactly setting a good precedent for owning these cars and what the owners are like. I try and make it so that when people are asking me about these cars or ask me questions about it, I will answer the questions even though you get the same questions over and over and over. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've told people what I do for a living, how much this costs, how fast have I gone? Oh yeah, that's definitely the top one. How fast have you gone that thing? I don't know. I don't look at the speedometer. In my opinion, that is an actual legitimate concern. I don't think it's really as big a deal as people think. I mean, yes, people are going to look at you or whatever, but shut the world out and drive the car. Enjoy it. Don't worry about what other people think. If you want this and it's going to be something that you're going to be happy with in your life, don't let what other people think about it influence your decision. Do it because you want to do it. So as you know, I've helped a couple hundred people buy and sell these cars now. So that's something I do, is consulting, which you can buy on my website, normalguysupercar.com. So go check that out. .com.
Normal guy, supercar. He's a normal guy with a supercar.
A lot of these concerns get brought up. People frequently ask about, oh, should I be worried about the attention it gets, and what about the parking and whatever. And basically there's just worry. There is a lot of worry about things that cost this much that are portable. I think that's the problem, right? People can easily steal it, they can easily damage it, they can scratch it. People generally aren't going out of their way to go damage your house. I've had vandalism happen to my car. It's been very insignificant at this point, but I mean, it could happen. And even stupid things like door dings and stuff. When you have an asset that's this expensive, a door ding's a big deal. The worry, I think, is a real thing. And I get that could be a barrier to wanting to have one of these cars. I think people truly could worry themselves into a point where it's like, it's not an enjoyable experience. Just accept that it's a car. Accept that it's going to lose money. It is going to lose value. So by buying this with that attitude, it's made my experience of owning it so much more enjoyable and a big pleasure. If you have any of these sorts of concerns and you're thinking about buying one of these and you would like to get my help on it, please go visit my website. Again, normalguysupercar.com. There you can buy my consultation services. I also have some buyer's guides and things that might help you make an educated decision about whether or not you should buy a Ferrari. Let's cut through the BS. No more of this, I didn't buy one because of blah, blah, blah. Well, just be honest, all right? Let's talk about the honesty here. I'm enjoying my car. I would not trade it for anything else. I'm going to be buried in this thing. That's right. This car is my coffin. Hopefully not for a while. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. We have more car stuff coming your way. Gonna get this thing fixed as soon as those parts come in, which weren't cheap. Yeah, I know. but it is what it is. So stay tuned, hit that thumbs up button. That does actually help out my channel, so I really do appreciate it when you guys do that, so thank you. You're gonna wanna stay tuned. It's gonna be sweet.